Hi, good evening, guys. This is Anish, and I'm here on behalf of the National Law Training Institute. Today, we have among us Hiranya Gupta, who got an All India rank of 8 in CLAT 2023 and a rank of 9 in ALET 2023. So, she is a master of both the exams, and you might want to listen to her uh, enlightening speech that she might have to give you today. So, Hiranya, I'll directly jump onto the theme of the session today. So, a lot of people were confused about how to approach this exam given that only 6 months are left. How many mocks should they give? Should they start giving mocks right now, or should they wait to complete the syllabus a little bit? All these things, how, what strategy should they follow for each subject for all the 5 topics that are asked in CLAD? So that's why we are having this session today, so that you could have a brief overview of what you need to do for the next 6 months and what should be the correct approach to each session. So that's why we have among us Hiranya today, who will be sharing her important insights, and also you can learn from her experience that she has cleared both the exams. So, over to you, Hiranya. Take it forward from here. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for that introduction, Anish. Hi everyone, Hiranya this side. As Anish mentioned, I cleared both the exams, CLAT and ALET, and I definitely understand what doubts the aspirants might have at this point of the preparation when you have 6 months to go and the dates have just been announced and you're panicking and freaking out about where to go about or are you doing this right? So I understand that. So just to give a very quick brief intro, I started preparing for CLAT mostly I prepare in my 12th grade. So that gave me around like 1 year, 1 year and a half at most. And trust me, my actual preparation started 6 months prior to it in the month of June itself because when you're forced to do something, that's when it hits you that you're supposed to go on. So today I'll be talking about like some general tips about what to do and what not to do during 6 months, and as Anish said, some specific sources and definitely talking we'll be talking about mocks and when to appear for it and how to appear for it at this point on. So, if you may, I would like
Yeah.
to, yeah, thank you for sharing the screen. Right. So we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, to begin with, many of people have a doubt, are 6 months enough for preparing for an exam like CLAT? I mean, when people have spent literally 2 years or 3 years preparing for this exam. So honestly, a very simple answer to that question is most certainly yes. CLAT is definitely just an aptitude test. Time does nothing except give you a privilege and edge to practice more, but it certainly does not determine whether you're going to succeed or not. So I just wanted to assure everyone in the beginning that trust me, 6 months is more than enough. It's all you need. It's never too late. Like not too late until it's not too late at this point. Trust me, it is not. I'm sure there must be a feeling of panic at this point because you guys must have been appearing for mocks, and even some students tend to start out right now at the after 6 months have passed already. So again, you'll just have to relax and you just have to realize that you're not alone in this because even with an exam like CLAT, you'll even when you'll be at the test center writing the exam, you'll just have to have one realization that everyone's in the same boat as you, everyone has the same issues, everyone is equally surprised, and everyone procrastinates at some point. So, okay, my first suggestion at this point would be to sit down with a piece of paper and write down what you're doing, what you have done so far. Like, I mean, there's no point in creating more strategies without knowing where you stand. So I am not just asking you to write down your mock scores. I'm not just asking to write down how have you been performing in the sectional tests or mock tests. I need you to sit down, take a piece of paper, and write down what all you have done so far. What all maybe you can write what all you completed last week or all you completed the month before. Maybe even write down day-to-day schedule, the things that you've already done. So what this will help you with is you'll get an idea of where you stand. And honestly, you'll be honest with yourself when you're the one accountable to yourself. So do that. Note down how much you have progressed. And even if you have not, it's fine. It's completely fine. Just have a very clear picture of what all you have done and what all stands before you. Uh, Many people believe in following 2 months, 3 months, 6 months plans, or making day-to-day, weekly schedules. I would suggest you do not do that at this point. Maybe you can just plan for a brief period of time and execute that instead of making more elaborate plans, because that doesn't work. You're going to spend too much time planning things out and it may not work out. So don't do that. Make brief goals. Like set brief targets, what you're going to do the next day or today. That's it. Just plan for the next 3 days. That's it. Don't go beyond that. Trust me, you don't want to waste that time. Before I move on to more specific advice, I definitely recommend two more things. First of all, at this point, your midterms, your half semesters at school are going to begin, and you don't want to waste time on that. Trust me, you don't. If you have prioritized CLAT, that and then you must stand by what you believe in, right? If you just want to crack CLAT, you must focus on that instead of boards. You'll have complete 3 months. So honestly, just get by at school. I personally barely got 60% in my midterms, yet I got a great score in the boards. So honestly, it really doesn't matter what you get in the school exams at this point. So if you think boards are taking your time off your CLAT preparation, I highly recommend that you prioritize CLAT, because life is all about priorities and balance, right? And one more thing, please start limiting your sources right now. I know you must have spent some previous time prior to this just going over different things, going over 10,000 sources of GK and not doing all of them, or not doing all of them properly because you're trying to get a piece of this and a piece of that. Same goes for, us, like you were gathering different sorts of materials and still not be able to complete even one of them due to the due to the abundance of the quantity. So at this point, trust me, you don't want to be you don't want to be muddled up, or want muddled up, or just hanging between different sources. Limit your sources. Have a very clear idea. This is what I'm going to do. I'll just refer to this book. That's it. I'll just refer to this material and stick to that. Don't do all sorts of things. You'll be just wasting time. And definitely cut the noise, which is do not indulge in group chats, do not indulge in wasting time fighting with other aspirants, or you know uh, being intimidated by what a fellow aspirant told you. So be very focused, be very clear. Definitely eliminate all noise, all superfluous sources. Now, moving on to something more specific, section specific, I would first like to talk about the English section. Right. So honestly, once with 6 months to go, you can just cover some basics that in basics in English, and you can just keep practicing after that. So what would be a good way to go about this is you must focus on vocabulary, because CLAT does test that, or even if it doesn't, it definitely helps you get a better grasp of the passage. So maybe just start with noting down 5 words a day. You can easily refer to editorials from Hindu or Indian Express for the same, since a lot of times the same passages show up in the examination. So it's highly recommended that you start writing 5 words a day, make meanings, like write down their meanings and actually remember them. You don't have to mug up their meanings or anything, but you must notice how they are being utilized in a particular context. A same word can be utilized in so many different ways. Editorials especially have a way to use those words and sound very esoteric, but for the same reason, you must definitely try writing down words. And this should be a continuous process. At the end of, like, if you do this for a period of 3 months, I'm sure you won't even have to look at a dictionary after that once you're reading the newspaper. Right? So keep doing that. Start doing that if you're not doing that. Even if five seems too much for you at this point, if you're just starting out, stick to three. Other than that, okay, there are some very specific things in English which you must know and which will very easily help you score some certain marks of it, like almost very effortlessly, right? So I would suggest you go over a list of literary and poetic devices. I suggest you go over tones, different tones of the passage, argumentative or opinionated. Understand the difference between what an argumentative versus an opinionated passage sounds like. So you may want to do that. You may want to go over literary tones and poetic devices and, just have a very basic sense of how passages are formatted, of what follows what. Sometimes there are questions like, where would this passage be placed? Where would this paragraph be placed in the passage? So how do you build upon that? You just keep reading and you get a very good idea of it. But before actually starting the practicing of solving questions, I suggest you go over the topics that I've mentioned, and you, it will be very easy if you practice them, and you'll be done with it honestly in a week. And apart from that, apart from word meanings, make sure you look over idioms and proverbs and different things that you come across in editorials. And one more thing, most of the articles that you're currently reading, I'm sure they are political pieces or geopolitical or, related to humanities fields or subjects. So, however, when you look at the past CLAT papers, they also put a passage relay from a fiction or a popular classic or just a novel, really. So they also want to understand how well do you how empathize with characters or understand the position they are in, how well you can put yourself in their shoes. So for that purpose, I would recommend if you're not into habit of reading, you do read like maybe just 15 or 20 minutes of it, but every second or third day, just pick up a fiction novel and read something out of it. That way, you'll be covering all the bases. You'll be able to read all sorts of articles with ease, and that will certainly help you with the diverse passages that CLAT presents, right? So once you cover these basics, you can just start practicing passages. Highly recommend GMAT passages since they have explanations, and you can actually figure out why something is right and why something was wrong. So I recommend that once you do a passage, even if your answer is correct, you must try and figure out how much your line of reasoning was in common with others' arguments for why that answer was correct. So start practicing once you are done with the basics. It will really not take a time, and please do keep on building that vocabulary because it will really, really go a long way. And not only in CLAT, but in all sorts of other entrance examinations. Moving further, next we have the GK section. All right. Now, this is something I really, really want to emphasize on. See, I know GK is something that most aspirants procrastinate about. Trust me, even the top rankers, they procrastinate all the time about GK because it's just so hard to keep up with, right? So honestly, just take this really, really seriously. You still have 6 months. You can still turn the tables if you haven't, done it really well in the past 6 months. It's fine even if you haven't, you can still get a great score in GK if you start seriously at this very moment. There are approximately 6 months remaining. And CLAT does have a habit of concentrating on the most recent topics and rather than older ones. Definitely, the previous ones do show up, but if there are events of such significance importance that they're going to show up in the CLAT examination, I'm sure they will still be discussed in newspapers, in editorials. So, what I suggest you from now on, even if you've completely neglected GK section, start doing it very diligently and spend most time here if you feel that you really are just starting out from the scratch. So just read obviously make notes. Okay, making notes remains a personal choice. It is a question that most aspirants have. Should I make handwritten notes? Should I type a document? Or should I not make notes at all? Now, my personal suggestion is that please do make notes because in the last 1 month, last 15 days, you'll be frenetically looking around for text. And again, you don't want to be muddled up amongst various sources. You will just end up missing on certain important information. Even compendiums do not have such comprehensive information as you may find in other places such as editorials or editorials or certain other articles that you keep on reading, right? So my recommendation is please do make notes, maybe not even maybe type notes if not handwritten ones. Now, what are the sources you can refer to? Definitely use the Hindu, but I understand it is a little too complex from the point of view of, you want to be quickly done with making notes. You want to be quick, you want quick access to information and not wait to understand a complex, sophisticated line of text to get to that piece of information. So I suggest you do use the Hindu for making notes. Uh, follow that up along with the Indian Express Explain page, since it's written in a very simple language and it really has all the information that you may need. So do use these two sources. I mean, I hope you are reading the newspapers daily too, because that remains a non-negotiable for literally each of the sections, except quant, of course. So once you're done with the newspaper every day, it's gonna take you like an hour and a half. You can definitely do one more thing. You can surround yourself with news, lots and lots of news. So CLAT 2023, for example, had tons of things which people did not read about in compendiums, but on Twitter, on Reddit. So you may want to be socially and more generally aware instead of, rote memorizing stuff. So for that purpose, I strongly suggest that you actually take an interest in news, right? I mean, if you're paying for CLAT, I'm sure you do have a tangential interest there. So for that purpose, I suggest you watch talk shows, listen to good podcasts, and definitely use news apps or watch news channels. I highly suggest watching the Cut the Clutter series on the print. Like it helped me tons because it I was actually enjoying news at that point, so it didn't seem like a task, but something, I do for relaxation instead, something more like a break. So watch informative channels on YouTube. Uh, Definitely do check out Cut the Clutter series on YouTube. And apart from that, one more thing. I know way too many aspirants who would make up notes every single day and yet not be able to retain any of it. I mean, we all have the same content, yet some people are going to retain it and score much, much better than in GK than others. So, I mean, there is only one explanation for that, which is, not revising enough. So, honestly, even if you just say study 50 facts a day, I would be more happier if you could, retain 40 out of them than instead of doing 100 things a day and not being able to retain even 30 of them, right? So just whatever you do, most certainly keep revising. Revise before you sleep, revise the next day, make weekly revision schedules, revise every second day, every third day. And revising, you don't have to do it actively. You can also do it uh very subconsciously or very effortlessly. You can just, skim through it. You can keep skimming through it and trust me, your subconscious self will realize how important this is and it's gonna start retaining it by itself. You don't have to put 100% of your energy in retaining, but it's definitely something that you're gonna need to be doing over and over again. So that is how you must start covering the GK for the upcoming 6 months. Now, how do you move? How do you cover the past GK? Right? You still have 6 months of content that you might have missed on. So start doing it from the previous manner. So if you're say just starting out, first do GK for the month of May, then read the events that happened in April. So do it in a reverse chronological manner and make a goal. Like 15 days and I'll complete May's GK. So if you do that at an interval of 15 months or at an interval of 15 days, 15 days for each and every month so far, you'll be able to complete it within 3 months. And you can, keep revising all of it in the remaining 3 months, right? So you can just I'm not saying don't revise it right now. Even if you're making notes for May, say today, if you start making notes for May from today onwards, I need you to go revise them today, tomorrow, and the day after. It does seem like too much effort, but just start when you open that register, when you start reading those notes over and over again, you'll get used to it. You'll be doing it very, very easily. So definitely start taking this really, really seriously because GK is something which can be a very rank making section. You can do really well in all of the remaining sections, in say any other three sections, and still not be able to bag a rank. You may get into NLS, but trust me, when you want to bag a single digit or a double digit rank, you may want to take this section really, really seriously. It's the only section you can actually prepare for, right? So think of it as something that's gonna bring you that rank and take it very diligently. Do this very seriously. Try to make this interesting. Do not go into the do not make it a very tedious and boring process. Talk to news about different people. Talk to news with different people. Tell them about what you learned. Tell them your opinion on say a geopolitical issue, right? Keep doing that. Make it interesting. And once you do that, trust me, you got this. One last thing. Do refer to daily MCQ test for GK because you do want to test what you did too. Revision alone is not sufficient. And oh, I highly, highly recommend purchasing the NLTI GK booster because I did that. I genuinely did that. It had hundreds and hundreds of questions, long PDFs, but it was definitely worth it because I literally solved those thousands of questions in the last 15 days, and it only helped me revise each and every current affair topic that occurred during the year. And most certainly, it's a great ultimate boost to your preparation. You can also get different MCQ test series, from different places, and just keep doing that. Maybe do that, like appear for a test today, and maybe even repeat that day after tomorrow. You will literally know each and every information there. So do follow revision with subsequent testing, and you sort it. You most certainly sort it if you take this very, very diligently. Moving on, logical reasoning section, right? So, the my advice here is going to differ depending on where you stand right now. So, if you're just starting out your CLAT preparation, if you have not taken this seriously prior to this, you may want to do a basic test, crash course, or read the very crux, the very basics of what logical reasoning is about. Now, how you can start is you can refer to PYQs, you can refer to past year papers, see what type of questions were asked. And very frankly speaking, I would suggest that watch these LSAT logical reasoning videos on YouTube. You can search for a long hour, 1 hour or 2 hour guide on these crash courses on LSAT logical reasoning questions, and you can actually watch that, and that will tell you about all sorts of questions that may be possibly asked even in class. So you have questions like strengthening, weakening, inferences, assumptions, right? So how do you go about it is it gets a bit complicated. I mean, it's very hard at first to be able to answer those questions based on a 600 word passage, right? So you may want to start out with, one or two liner questions, one or two liner stems, one or two liner prompts and question stems. And then you may want to solve questions based on these very short pieces of text before moving on to longer ones. Oh, once your basics are cleared in that sense, you'll easily be able to do the longer passages which CLAD asks you to requires of you, right? So first, if you're just starting out, do logical reasoning and LSAT guides. Do watch them. Maybe even refer to Khan Academy if you have to. And one other thing that you can go for is the NLTI CR Panacea. Like NLTI has launched a crash course sort of thing for critical and logical reasoning, especially for CLAT. So you can most certainly check that out. And once you are done with that, you can start practicing questions from NLTI material or from, LSAT logical reasoning questions. You can easily find them on Khan Academy. So once you start solving those one-liner stems, you'll be easily able to move on to larger questions, to larger things. And so do start with that. Once you're done with the passage, practice one-liner questions from LSAT. Try GMAT material if you have more time. And see how it works. For example, the when you're reading a long passage, you may want to notice how the tone of the passage is changing. This is where language comes into play too. It's not just, they teach you an elementary logical reasoning textbooks that you have things like conditionals, which are words like but, however, thus, hence. So you may want to know what these words are because they'll help you realize even when you're really tired of reading, they'll help you notice, that something is changing in the passage. The author's opinion may not be the same anymore. So there may be there are definitely going to be various nuances to a passage every single time. So first you can try and focus on these preliminary things such as conditioners. You'll find them in any crash course. You'll find out how this works. There are certain other logical elements. For example, if they we often make mistakes such as, to put it in very simplified terms, if x is y, then we assume that if y is not there, then x did not happen. We make different assumptions of beyond that. We tend to make mistakes while negating that. So here's where we start making mistakes. We tend to presume that if one thing happened, then other thing will follow too. So there are things which where we may make mistakes in logical reasoning. So you may certainly need some help for that. What these guides are going to do that for you, they're going to clear those doubts for you. So you'll be able to work well and be able to actually spot things which you may elsewise not notice. I mean, I'm sure you must be doing great in LR, even if you are doing really great in logical reasoning, scoring full marks in the mocks and all. You may still want to glimpse across a few books or a few courses that will, like, there's some technical aspects to it which you may not even realize of right now. So this will not take you a lot of time. Maybe just, give it, say, I'll talk about this, just maybe, give one sectional weekly test for logical reasoning every week, and follow that up with reading a page or a two every single day or every other day on LR in different in maybe in a crash course or maybe in a power score LSAT guide, right? Again, once you're obviously thorough with these basics, it will not take you much time again. Say if you do take out a maximum of 2 weeks for English, you can easily follow that up with 2 weeks of logical reasoning basics, and you can then start practicing these questions. Do refer to mocks once you're done with those one-liner stems as discussed above from LSAT and GMAT material. Do switch to full-length mocks. Right. So once you're done with 2 weeks of, say, English and say 2 weeks of logical reasoning, we have the section that most people are terrified of once. Personally, this is something most aspirants are afraid of. So let me reiterate, you're not alone then. You're not alone in this at all. 6 months is a really, really long time to improve quants or even, basically start out from the scratch, even if you're, messing up all your calculations right now. So flat quant is certainly much easier than maths in general. Now I think the 30 Days Wonder textbook by Ashton would be a really, really great start. Trust me, I did not specifically solve any content for quant. Uh I too was somehow starting from scratch here. But honestly, it just took me that one book because it had tricks. It had tricks for different topics. It had covered the basics of all different topics. So you might want to start solving that book. I mean, if there's one textbook that you must purchase for your CLAT preparation, apart from and if there's any one textbook that you must spend your money on for CLAT, it should be this, in my opinion. So, no, I mean, that is definitely going to be different if you're really great at quants already. But if you are, say, at an intermediate level too, just get this textbook, solve it once, and you're good to go. It will take you a maximum of 2 months to solve the entire book. Like, even if you do it at a snail's pace, so do go for it. And like I said, 30 minutes daily or just taking out a hour every other day for quant should suffice, because you just have to do calculation well and just have some basic concept clear. The book will do that for you. and you can always learn some calculation tricks using YouTube. So, I mean, you'll really be pressed for time during the actual exam. There's going to be a time crunch, real bad, and most people lose marks on the quant section. In fact, there are people who scored negative on the section and yet made it to the best law schools. So, like, do not be terrified of the section or do not leave it. And I mean, of course, do not make the mistake of make scoring negative here, but do try and learn different calculation tricks, solve the book, and practice daily. I mean, that's what's gonna matter ultimately. I used to do one mock set squat like, I used to do it at least 2 times, right? So I would appear for a mock, I would give the quant section, and after that, without looking at the answers, I would, set up a timer for 15 minutes and do it over and over again. So I would do it like, say, after 2 days, or then at an interval of a week or 15 days. So what that really helped me was not only I was able to clear my concepts, be conceptually thorough with the topic, but also know that, you know, I could actually see myself progressing when I could do that same set in a quicker time. So definitely learn calculation tricks because you'll be surprised. You don't want to you'll be surprised how simple things how much simpler things can get. You can solve square you can solve very large multiplications very quickly using Vedic tricks and all those sort of things. So do make use of YouTube there. Maybe watch tricks for say 10-15 minutes, practice for another 5 or 10 minutes a day, watch or learn for 15 minutes and practice for 15 minutes and every single day. Or you can, do this one day. The next day, do 30 days of Wonder Book, 30 days Math Wonder Book. And maybe the third day, do a repeat mock one set. So you can keep doing this. You can make a chain of this, make an order. Okay, I'll learn tricks today. I'll do a mock math today and I'll do the book today, right? So you can do that for quant. And again, it is again one of the two most scoring sections, of course, other than GK. And you can easily be able to, score marks here. So you might want to do that right. You might want to start working on that right now, even if you've procrastinated on maths, terrifies you. Lastly, we have the legal reasoning section. Now, here's what it gets a little tricky. I know there are many aspirants out there who have this very basic doubt, should I be studying all these topics? Should I have prior knowledge of legal topics, or should I just, start doing mocks? Should I make notes? Should I still study torts or criminal law when CLAT doesn't ask you principle of fact-based questions anymore? So what I suggest is, yes, you do, but you do it very smartly. So it's not just about hard work, but smart work. So what you can do is, if you are say from a commerce or in here again, another doubt that pops up is, I'm from a science background and I do not understand legal text. Actually, that's same for students in any stream, really. So what you may want to do here is you may want to start studying the basics of different legal legal different legal topics. So you don't have to study it per se, but you can start reading it. You can actually start learning what the law is about. You'll that way you will not find yourself getting bored while reading legal text or find yourself mentally fatigued. So just do one thing, just maybe refer to AP Bhardwaj's book or the legal aptitude book by Vineet, or can honestly refer to any online blog and just start reading text. Just start reading what is torts all about. Maybe even watch a YouTube lecture for that matter if you don't want to read. But I suggest that you read. For this particular section, I suggest you do not try and make this interesting by watching lectures, but reading it and then figuring out what works best. So try reading about different sections, use and pick up any source. Here there is nothing about accuracy, here there is nothing about subject matter. Here you just what your purpose should be here, your aim here should be to be able to sustain reading through long legal text. That is what you're trying to do. You're not trying to gain information here. So read different texts, read blogs on torts, read blogs on criminal law. Criminal law is particularly fascinating for the majority of the people. So you can start doing that. You can read basics of contract law. You can use any sources for this, literally any other sources, because like again, the subject matter here is not your priority. Now, apart from this, the Hindu does do really elaborate articles on the legal section every now and then. You have, like, I know for a fact out of those 7 to 8 pieces of articles in that newspaper every single day, at least two pertain to the legal sphere. So you may want to read them with particular and special attention because they may also contain legal news, which is often tested in CLAT or specifically ALET. So you may want to read them very diligently. And other than that, you can always browse through Live or Bar and Bench or Desi Kanun, these websites which have judgments and everyday proceedings from High Courts and Supreme Court. So that way you just get a bit more familiar with legal terms, with legal topics, with legal nuances, and the major debates and questions which abound in different sorts of jurisprudences, right? So you can start doing that. Apart from that, something I can't uh, not emphasize enough on is you must be aware of different legal terms, right? So now you're reading an article in the Hindu, and you have words like, status quo or sine qua non, or et al. Or inter alia. You have these Latin legal terms, and you may not understand what they mean, or you might not even take them very seriously. So I suggest that apart from doing your vocabulary, you do Google these terms, pay specific attention and regard to them because they'll help you in understanding the legal reasoning section better. These words will have great significance. These one or two appear trivial and inconsequential appearing words will have great significance and they may altogether change the meaning of the passage or help you notice principles which you may not otherwise notice. So definitely do notice these legal terms and pay attention there. Apart from that, now what you can do is you can also, if you don't want to read legal articles online, you can definitely reread the mock legal section again after doing the mock. So this way you'll definitely retain much more information yourself because you'll be in that hyperactive state of mind you are when you are in appearing for a mock or post that when you are analyzing it. So do go over those passages over again. I always did that. I would always reread the passages. In most of the time, they would be very interesting. So do reread the passages and say if you find something interesting, maybe Google upon it, read more of it. Now, one thing that I wanted to talk about is how do you approach the legal section in the actual paper? So what you can do is some people like, definitely when you're reading it, mm, underline the different pointers or underline different principles that you may not notice. So you don't want to skip and just underline the main point or the important things like you do in logical reasoning, but you may want to underline each and every fact where there may be a difference in how the law applies. So you must recognize what the principle is, and then you must recognize after reading the question prompt, you must recognize what the situation here is, and you can just match that with different things that you underline and see what fits in best. And that way you can easily that would make it easier for you to approach the answer. Right. Moving on to get to some final pointers. What you can do is starting right now, you can just dedicate 4 to 5 hours, at least a minimum of 4 hours every day to CLAT preparation. You can appear for 2 mocks a week. Now, most people appear for 1 mock a week. I did two, but at this point, you may want to speed up things. I mean, definitely appearing for more and more mocks is does not mean anything if you're not analyzing it well. But you may want to be in that habit of being able to read nonstop for 2 hours, because you'll have to be really fast with reading, and you don't want to be falling asleep or have a brain freeze in the middle of the exam. So you may want to be very comfortable in sitting for those 2 hour prolonged hours for that reason alone, and not for the reason of, more marks meaning more uh better level of preparation. I do not absolutely imply that. I just mean that you must appear for 2 marks a week just to get into that habit, into that momentum of sitting for prolonged hours and that sustained periods of long reading. So do appear for 2 marks every single week. Keep the next 3 days for sectional test. You can pick up any of the three sections. You can pick up either quant, English, LR, or logical. Out of the four, pick up any three, whatever you deem right. Pick up those sections, give a sectional test every day, every 3 days of the week, give 2 days for 2 marks, and you can keep the rest, remaining 2 days of the week, in in analyzing your marks and seeing where you went wrong. So make a schedule in that sense. Do not plan everything ahead, but do have this temporary template of, on say Monday I'll do uh an English sectional, on Tuesday I'll do a logical sectional, and Wednesday is a mock day. So do make a plan in that sense. And apart from these tests, I suggest you do cons at least every 2 days. English, you can easily cover the basics as mentioned within 2 weeks easily. For logical, again, for you can cover the basics, or if you're already done with that, that's great. Just keep on practicing. For legal, just focus on reading a lot, reading at least 2 articles every day, reading two topics, like reading two topics or reading a topic, and over a period of 2 weeks, say pick up thoughts for now. Start reading a very long blog, and maybe once you are done reading it, read it again next time. So, like, give yourself a very long, good period of 2 weeks, and in like there are four topics, four major areas, so you can very easily cover all the legal topics within 2 months. That way, you'll be sorted with each and every section. Again, now GK will be the most daunting of them all. The current affairs section, you must at this point make those notes over and over again. Now, a question that often pops up is, how are we to know whether a particular topic is likely to be tested? How do you filter out that information? Now, a very, very good way to do that is see how often it repeats. If it's an important topic, it will repeat every single time. If it's something of great significance, say the parliament, the election of of the first tribal president, these or the bullet trains, these are things that everyone around you happens to know of. So CLAT is likely to test such great significant events, but they're going to ask you questions. They're going to ask you details which everyone may not know of. Now, everyone knows the new parliament was inaugurated, but do people know who was the architect of the of the project, or which firm designed what place, or different factual information. So it's like knowing that something happened, but not knowing what preceded that, or what is going to follow that. So what you can do is to filter that information out, see how often it repeats, how often does it, how often is it talked about around you, how often does it come up in newspaper articles? How often it pops up in your Twitter feed? So do that. And for static information, you can always refer to websites such as Drishti IAS or Insights on IAS. And apart from that, just read a compendium, read a good compendium every time. I know NLTI has the GK cassette, you can check that out, but read a compendium. So that way you'll be sorted with the GK too. And 6 months is, trust me, a very long time. And if you do this right at this point, starting today onwards, if you do this right, you are most certainly good to go. All you must do is stick to your commitments, stick to the targets that you set for yourself. Now, there may be sections that you find yourself to be weak in. Some sections might be your strength. So again, you don't have to follow this hard and fast. What I have written on the screen, you don't have to follow that hard and fast. Like you don't have to appear for a test for a particular topic every week. You can definitely be flexible about it. You can, talk to your mentor about it, and you can most certainly make amendments here, so depending on what you need. So say if you are not that great in the logical reasoning section, just build your basics right now. There is certainly enough time even at this point to build your basics. If a particular section is your heel, you may want to do that from the scratch. Even if you give yourself 1 month, you will be done with it. You'll have the remaining 5 just for revision and practice. So do keep on doing that. Apart from that, just do not panic at this point. Literally every aspirant is freaking out about the situation, wondering what they have done or what they have not done yet. Like I said in the very first, like I said on the very in the very first moments of this session, take a piece of paper and do note down what you have done so far. Do not be afraid to be honest, and do not be afraid to be vulnerable with yourself. Even if you've not done what you may think is enough right now, there is enough time. Like if you're definitely honest and accountable to yourself, you most certainly can plan this out and work this out. Now, moving on, if anyone has any other questions, like the floor is open for questions, please let me know what in particular I can talk about or assist you with. Okay, I am okay. I don't suppose. Right.
Yeah.
Hi.
Can you see any
Do we have
question?
any
Because
questions? Okay, I do not think we have any questions for the at the moment per se. How do I
Hiranya, I'm
cover the last
not sure
five
if you
months
covered this
GK?
question, but did you talk about covering GK backlog from January to June?
I not in a very detailed manner, but I can talk about that most certainly. So right, hi Saish. Right, how do I cover the last 5 months of GK? Sure. So what you can do right now is you can start with first prioritize the current GK. Prioritize the current GK before you do start doing the backlogs. So do complete the notes. Keep making those notes and making notes of whatever happens from now on. Now, what you can do is you can set a target for say in the next 15 days. You can set a target for the month of May, and you can just start going over these monthly magazines called Pratyogita Darpan. I repeat, Pratyogita Darpan. It's basically a magazine for UPSC, but it has monthly issues, and it has all sorts of important information in it. So you can just start doing that, and you don't even have to make notes because notes will already be there, and you can just start highlighting things and reading that over and over again. You can like like you can do read that magazine first. You can do that magazine first, and then you can go over uh, a monthly compendium by an institute, and just keep rereading that again and again. Take any three sources: one compendium, one magazine, and a monthly GK test series. And once you're done reading and revising the two GK sources, you can start practicing the third one. So even if it takes you, say, 10 days to just, read and revise all the GK for that month, you can spend the next 5 or 6 or 7 days in just uh, attempting questions, attempting these 1 month GK, CA current affairs video series on YouTube, like these MCQ test series. You can easily appear for them. Of course, you can appear for them free and definitely very accessible. So you can start doing that, and in that way, you can cover it for bit in between like 15 to 20 days. And like I said in the session, during the session, if something was of great significance, it will show up in the editorials again and again. So what you do is when you are reading your paper, you read, you Google that topic. If it is showing up in your paper over and over again, you Google it and you read the page of the Insights on India or the Drishti IAS page about it. You read or you watch a study IQ or IAS video about it. Like refer to any UPSC current affairs source and you then go over that issue in depth. Chances are it's the factual information will repeat itself in the paper itself. So just do a magazine, do a compendium, and then keep practicing on questions. And do not be afraid to Google out information on an event which may have occurred sometime back too. So if you set a target for even like 20 days at most, that is actually giving yourself a long time period. Even if you do that for 20 days, you will be like done in the next 4 months. Even if you give yourself a very comfortable period of 20 days, you'll be done with the backlog GK with next 5 months. Here, consistency is the key. And again, like I said, it's going to be boring or tedious, but you may want to make it interesting. Now, you can't do that with the backlog GK since you do not have that much time, but you can most certainly still make it a bit more fascinating by watching interactive things or talk shows on a particular issue instead of a monthly GK helpful. Instead of a monthly thing, you can find an interesting take on a particular issue and cover that. So here consistency will be the key, but you can easily do it within the next 3 or 4 months and spend the remaining last 2 months simply revising each and everything that you have done so far. I hope that helps. Yeah, if it does not, please feel free to mention that and I'll try to explain it more elaborately once more. Right. Hi, Spectre Gaming. I'm sorry. Yes, I just noticed that you did ask a question. Are the fluctuations in mocks okay? But sometimes difficult words of the passage. Okay, I think first your question may be incomplete, but yes, from what I can infer here, yes, fluctuations in marks are most certainly very normal. People can score 40 to 60 on a mock to between 80 to 90 on any other day. 83 to 67 is perfectly normal too, because the level of mock will vary, and even the institute setting the mock may not be able to tell you that the distinction might be that large, but yes, it's perfectly normal. I think it's not the fluctuations in marks that you must notice, but it should be what sort of questions went wrong and why did they go wrong that you should notice. Like you should, okay, you said basically what to analyze after you give a, okay, so I'll try my best to succinctly put into words how do you analyze a mark. What you do is first, before you even start checking the answer key, I suggest you figure out what your impression of that mock was. You, before even touching the explanation or the answers, just write what did you find difficult, what did you find easy. Like write whatever your impression of that mock was, your impression of how it went, right? First do that. Next, once you do check the answers, make a list of what type of questions did you do wrong. So for logical reasoning, if you were not able to figure out that you're not able to solve a certain type of questions, you may notice a pattern. If you do this for say 4 mocks, you may notice a pattern that you are having difficulty in say assumption based questions. So there must be, like you said, you don't think there's a lack of effort in the theory part. So you may want to notice what that pattern is. Like, are you not able to figure out what what an ideal conclusion would be, or are you not able to figure out what an assumption should be, right? So you'll start noticing a pattern. Make a list. In this logical reasoning section, in English section, I did this mistake. Do not note down the question number, note down what what kind of question it was, why did you answer a particular thing, and then start writing out, explain in that notebook why A is the correct answer and why B, C, D are not, in your opinion. See what line of reasoning, what chain of thoughts you used, you hopped onto, what train of thoughts you hopped onto to reach that particular conclusion, to reach that particular answer. So start making notes of mm, what you can do is, how do you analyze a mock? Note down the type of question that went wrong. Why did you answer something as right? Why did you answer something as wrong? And then compare that with the with the explanations, right? Do this and see if there is any trend, any pattern in the kind of mistakes that you make. With language, it is very easy to catch. It may be a lack of sufficient or a lack of great verbosity or vocabulary, or it may be just a lack of understanding expressions. You may not be able to figure out what is the author expressing surprise, is the author expressing pain or anguish, or is it just anger or frustration? Is it indignation? Like you may not be able to figure that out. So just note to summarize, notice what kind of questions you're doing wrong, why you mark something as right or wrong, and see if there are any patterns or trends. And do compare your first impression of the mock with what, like, with why do you think it went wrong after you checked the answer, right? So that is how you can analyze a mock, to put it very simply. I hope that helps. Hi, Arjun. Is there any, do you have any questions about anything related to your preparation strategy at this moment? Okay, so I think we do not have any more questions at this point, Anish.
Sure. Uh, I think we can conclude the session now. Thank you so much, Hiranya, for joining
Hmm.
in and for an
No
enlightening
worries, no worries.
experience. Thank you everyone for joining in. I hope this was an amazing experience for you all. Hiranya, I think you can leave. I'll explain a bit about the NLTI courses and then conclude the session.
Great, great, sure. Thank you again.
Sure.
Thank you,
Thank
Anish.
you so much.
All the
Thank
best
you.
to everyone.
Bye bye. Hi guys. So Mudit, you were late. I think you should have asked that question earlier. So, yeah, that was it from Hiranya. I hope it was a useful session for each of you. So, if I'll tell a bit about NLTI now, and I look forward to some of you joining NLTI. So, NLTI runs on a study buddy group and a mentorship structure. So, what we do is we have a mentor who's only from NLS. So, an NLSIU mentor will be guiding you and assisting you throughout your preparation journey. So we'll have like a mentor will be there who will be mentoring only a very limited number of students from 20, ranging from 25 to 30. So this will be very personalized, and out of those 30, you'll be divided into study groups of 7 or 8 each. So you'll have a group of people who are like minds and who with whom you'll be studying for CLAT together, give mocks together, analyze mocks together. So this also helps in revising and preparing for GK. Since if you are studying alone, you'll have to prepare for 40 topics, whereas if you have 8 study buddies, you will have to make notes only for 5 topics each, but you'll have notes for 50 topics in hand, because 8 into 5, 40. So that way study buddy groups help, and at NLTI we follow that structure whereby each study group is personally mentored by an NLS student who knows inside out how to prepare for CLAT, what not to prepare for CLAT, how do we go about in the last stages of preparation, what are the number of mocks that one should give. So this is how we prepare people for CLAT. So we have recently reduced our prices also. So I'll show you a glimpse of what we have to offer right now. If I can share the screen. uh, Yeah, if this screen is visible, I hope I'm visible. Yeah. So we have recently reduced the prices, also considering that only 6 months are left. So the full course till CLAD would cost you 7,000 rupees, and this will also include the test series. So you can see how reasonable our courses are, because if you go ahead and purchase test series from other institutes, that only costs some. Only the test series costs some 10, 12,000, but with us you will get test series which includes 35 CLAT mocks, 5 ALET mocks, 10 other law entrance mocks plus 50 sectionals also. So, at only rupees 7,000, that will also include the study buddy program, that will include mentorship by NLS students only. You will have access to NLS mentors via Telegram chat daily 24/7. If you have any doubt, just feel free to drop that doubt in the chat option, and the mentor will reply within 6 7 hours. You'll get a personalized timetable and school schedule according to your own routine, your preferences, your strengths and weaknesses. Plus you'll have a study buddy group by your side. This list is not exhaustive. You'll also have the GK Gazette and a lot of other courses that we keep on launching. So this plan entirely will cost some 7,000 rupees, whereas if you want to take a trial, that would you can take the 3 months course that is without the test series, and that would cost 3,000 rupees. So 3 months for 3,000, only for mentorship. So if you want that you have a mentor who's able to guide you throughout your journey, and who is like a big brother or a big sister for that matter in your CLAT preparation journey, you can take a 3 months course for 3,000 rupees only. That only translates to 1,000 a month, and you can gain access to a mentorship by an NLS student exclusively. So these are our courses. You can also purchase our test series separately. That would cost 5,000, but we usually are able to accommodate people who are not able to pay 5,000. So we give it for 4,500 or 4,000, depending on uh, the financial crunch if the people might have that. So if this interests you, please feel free to reach out to us. Yeah, so please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be able to will be it will be a pleasure to mentor you till your CLAT exam. Is there any question regarding NLTI that you would want me to address? You might have also seen our results last year. So we had some 50 selections in the top three NLUs, that is NLS, NLUD, and NALSAR. So our results speak about our our performance, and you can also see the testimonials uploaded on our website as well as the YouTube channel, where you'll see that we actually made a difference in toppers CLAT preparation, and they owe their preparation to us in their own words. Yeah, so if you have any doubts, please feel free to reach out to us. We look forward to having you as our mentees and also our potential juniors at NLS. Cool, then we'll end the session now. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope this was a useful session for everyone.